All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredibly moving journey of a rescue beagle and looking at exactly what her story reveals about the broader world of animal welfare. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Is your dog ever restless at night, or do they constantly pace around the house? It's a pretty striking question, right? The source uses this to help us connect the very subtle ways deep-seated pain and trauma can manifest in our own household pets. Because sometimes what we write off as just a quirk or a behavioral issue is actually a signal, a silent cry for help, really. And to truly understand those signals, we need to trace the journey of dogs who have experienced the absolute unimaginable. Which brings us to a massive number, 4,000. That represents the 4,000 Beagle survivors who were rescued from the Envigo breeding facility in Virginia. When rescuers first walked into that facility, the air was just heavy with the sound of thousands of dogs who had quite literally never known a life outside a kennel. It was an event of such staggering magnitude that it immediately sparked a national movement. But let's zoom in from that 4,000 down to just one single survivor. Her name is Franny. And here's another number for you, 20. During her 3 years at that facility, Franny was forced to produce over 20 puppies in total. She was a mother dog whose body carried the incredibly heavy toll of a lifetime of relentless confinement and breeding. For Franny, life was entirely defined by a row of cold, metal cages. Before her rescue, she had never once felt the sun on her back, never felt grass under her paws. To the operators of the lab, she wasn't a living soul. She was simply a tool, a literal unit of production meant to be discarded the second she couldn't produce anymore. And here's a fascinating yet completely heartbreaking detail from the text. Laboratory workers specifically choose beagles for their docility and forgiving nature. But for Franny, that so-called docility wasn't peacefulness. It was a state of total, absolute psychological shutdown. Her head was always down, and her eyes were just dull. Now, you would think the moment of rescue would be this instant, joyous, cinematic moment, right? Well, not exactly. When Franny finally escaped those cages, she hit what the source defines as adoption shock. That's the overwhelming fear and anxiety an animal goes through when transitioning to a completely new life, home, and set of rules. She squinted against the light, entirely terrified by the bright, open world that was supposedly there to save her. And it's so important to understand that Franny wasn't just being difficult during this transition. She was involuntarily reacting to severe trauma. We see physical manifestations of this, like whale eye, which is when a dog shows the whites of their eyes, indicating incredibly high anxiety, or piloerection, raised hackles, which a lot of people misinterpret as aggression. But for Franny, it meant she was intensely overwhelmed by a sudden lack of boundaries. Then there was the freezing. It took her 30 whole minutes just to walk down a hallway because she'd take 2 steps, freeze completely, and then retreat. And finally, spatial fear. She absolutely refused to enter small rooms like bathrooms because those enclosed spaces with no exits were horrifying reminders of the tight enclosures she had just escaped. So the really crucial takeaway here is that Franny wasn't just spooked by a new environment. Actually, scratch that. It goes way deeper. She was a dog who had been actively conditioned to believe that human interaction always led to something painful. Her new family didn't just have to show her around the house, they had to completely overcome a lifetime of negative conditioning where humans were solely a source of pain and exploitation. The stakes for her recovery were incredibly high. Okay, so how do you even begin to fix that? Well, to help her heal, her rescuers used this incredible framework called the Sitting with Dogs philosophy. It's this slow, quiet arc of extreme patience. First, obviously, you address immediate medical needs, but the real emotional work, that requires completely removing any expectation of producing anything to earn love or worth. And then comes the absolute hardest part for us humans. You have to wait patiently for the animal to initiate contact, entirely on their own terms. And because they stuck to this patient, pressure-free process, it eventually led to her major breakthrough. Like I said earlier, it wasn't some loud, crazy movie moment. It was a very quiet shift. She simply stopped turning her face away from her rescuers and made a small, unimaginably brave choice to reach out with one single paw to tap for attention. That tiny tap was the exact moment she realized she was safe, and it finally allowed her defensive walls to just come tumbling down. Right after that literal reach for connection, her transformation just accelerated. She was given her very first real bath. And this wasn't just about hygiene, you know? It was about washing away the past, getting rid of the smell of the kennel and, let's be honest, the nasty critters hiding out in her coat. The result was immediate and just wonderful. She stood tall, her tail finally relaxed, and she happily joined her new dog brothers and sisters in a big, goofy pile. She could finally exhale and let her true, incredibly loving personality shine through. It is literally a night and day contrast. At Envigo, she was nothing but a unit of production, confined to cold metal cages in extreme neglect, completely devoid of sunlight or grass. Fast forward to her reality in her forever home. She's lounging in garden beds, bounding confidently across the yard with her new pack of misfits. It perfectly illustrates this unbelievable transition, from being treated as a piece of property in a cage to becoming a beloved family member who makes a house truly feel like a home. But her journey doesn't end with her just living a happy life. Franny is actively acting as an educator now, teaching everyone she meets about the boundless resilience of the animal spirit. Her recovery entirely embodies a core worldview of her rescuers. No animal is truly broken beyond repair. They are only waiting for love and a soft place to land. If we zoom back out to the macro level, Franny's story is serving as a powerful catalyst for larger legislative change. She's raising vital awareness for the dogs who are still waiting in laboratories right now. She's sparking local charitable donations, with her rescuers even grooming pets in exchange for donations to local rescues. And most importantly, Franny's presence serves as constant, living advocacy for the Better Care for Animals Act, pushing the entire movement forward to end animal testing and build a no-kill future where every single animal is safe. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a profound thought directly from the text. Our pets hold up the truest mirror of our nature, and by helping them heal, we often find a path to a better version of ourselves. It really leaves us with one massive question to chew on. When we look at how we treat animals, from the dark cages of laboratories to the extreme patience of a forever home, what does it ultimately reflect about our own humanity? Thanks for exploring this incredible story with me.